The logistics of redistributing the various festivals isn't the problem. It's more a question of trying not to upset everyone's personal beliefs, which should always be avoided if at all possible. In order to demonstrate this fairly gargantuan stumbling block, we turn to the Bible, which, in a globally recognized passage, refers to the creation of man, the world, and all that exists. It is written that this occurred over the course of 6 days, plus a day of rest on Sunday, day 7. And if Christianity's your bag, this is to be taken as read and remains unquestioned. However, the new scheme is based on a decimal standard 10-day week, which would give us all an extra 3 days to play with, but no theological explanation as to where they came from, or indeed what to do with them.
And so it was written that on the 8th, 9th, and 10th day we all rested, did the shopping, mowed the lawn, went to Chessington World of Adventures, changed the oil filter on the wife's Corsa, and then kicked back with the beer and watched repeats of Knight Rider on Sky.
Maybe not. So, for the benefit of this new improved time measurement policy, we'll simply do what the world's superpowers do when something threatens to scupper their latest ill-conceived plan. We'll close our eyes, smile, put a finger in each ear, and try to convince everyone that it won't be a problem. So how could it work, we hear you cry, or at least murmur? Well, using the complicated science of adding things up and putting them in boxes, the old and new schemes are explained below. This is the old system. As the impressive-looking table shows, the traditional system, although universally accepted, is confusing, dirty, and wrong. Consider for a moment the likelihood of an alien invasion. Granted, it's about as likely as Lord Lucan and Elvis riding by on Shergar, but go with it. If in fact we were to be stormed by little green men in shiny metal saucers, the setting of their interstellar Rolexes to GMT probably won't be their first priority. In fact, it's reasonable to assume that much assimilating of world leaders and probing of hillbillies would occur straight off, and the discussions about the finer points of human existence would be left until after tea. But when humanity's finest minds sit across the table from the leader of the saucer people to answer the simple question,
"How many seconds in one of your Earth years, puny human?"
would you want to be the puny human to reply, 31,207,680, give or take a bit, leap years notwithstanding, Your Majesty? Needless to say that once the babble of Martian hysterics had subsided, you could expect a little green man with a big shiny probe to lunge in the direction of your undercarriage. Okay, so having to explain an antiquated 4.3 weeks to a month method to a superior race is probably not reason enough to give old Father Time a makeover, especially when you consider the other, more important things that may spring to mind if Mars attacks, such as leaning forward, putting your head between your legs, and kissing your probable areas goodbye. So maybe think about the children. Won't somebody think about the children? Picture the scene. A primary school classroom. 30 rosy-cheeked cherubs sit on brightly coloured plastic chairs, the ones with the hole in the back. Why? It's painting day, and little Jimmy sits at a low-rise table, resplendent in Daddy's old work shirt, hugely oversized and on back to front as a crudely fashioned painting apron. He's painting a picture of Daddy and Daddy's special friend, Tony, standing outside their house. Daddy's twice as big as the house. Tony has 16 fingers, on each hand. Life is easy. School has taught Jimmy everything he needs to know. School and his big brother, who mastered in worms, mud, and matches. To Jimmy's way of thinking, everything makes sense. He's mastered numbers, learnt about animals, and discovered that girls are evil, weird, smelly, and have something called the lurgy. Granted, the alphabet is still a bit of a mystery, especially the whole PH is the same as F debate. But otherwise, things are falling nicely into place. Most importantly, everything on Jimmy's jumbo shatterproof ruler seems to come in lovely blocks of 10, just like the plastic money in Class C's My First Cash and Carry playset, which makes the life of a short-trousered academic sweeter still. Imagine then the horror, as just around the corner, lurking like a school bully on the prowl for lunch money, the classroom clock taunts the 4-year-olds with rumours of something called quarter past and the menacing sound of noon. No nice, fluffy, brightly coloured clumps of 10 here, just a baffling wheel of misfortune, littered with the carcasses of meaningless digits, whose featureless face sprouts 2 misshapen arms, one longer than the other and devoid of fingers, which slowly, ever so slowly, turn with a solemn tick-tock, always one way, never the other. It can be too much for a young mind to take, the concept of 1 following 12, both of which occurring twice a day, and if that's the case,
why doesn't the clock go from 1 to 24?
Patience, little one, because one day you'll discover it does, and that will really sink your dinghy. And let's not even get on to the roller coaster that lies beyond the humble clock face. Let's not mention the demonic calendar. Like the pasty-faced followers of a yokel cult, the future hopes for mankind are forced to chant verses in an ancient dialect.
30 days of September, April, June, and November. All the rest of 31,
Except? There should be no except. What possible justification can there be for addling the minds of the young with exceptions to rules which themselves make little sense? And whilst on the subject, why February? What's so special about the second month of the year, which incidentally represents 8.493 to 16.164% of the elapsed year? Tidy. It's a pretty lousy month to start with. Rotten weather, the ominous thud of the credit card bill generated by a frenzy of Christmas shopping, and the indignity of Valentine's Day, which, depending on your own personal circumstances, is either spent exchanging overpriced, unwanted and poorly chosen gifts, or desperately alone. Perhaps it was for these reasons that our forefathers opted to make February mercifully short. How else could they explain away a mere 28 days? It's almost as if the human race is being shortchanged every year. And leap years? Sorry, my friend, but a free 24 hours every 4 years is simply too little, too late. So, it should come as no surprise that whilst we have become accustomed to the traditional method of telling the time, for our preschoolers, it's needlessly baffling. Granted, by simplifying the way in which we teach our little uns to tell the time, we would render most of the residents of Sesame Street redundant, and therefore homeless. But on the upside, they would take down with them the Teletubbies and the island freak show known as Balamori.